Okay, so let's start. The session is called Drupal Basics. The alternative name is Where My Projects Went Wrong. I will tell you some things that I learned setting up Drupal sites, and I will focus on the things that I did wrong, so maybe you can avoid these mistakes. My name is Michał. 3 words about me. Pictures, I like to take pictures. Travel, I like to travel. And I work at Dog Planner. It's the company that runs Znany Lekarz portal in Poland and similar portals in a couple of other countries. Okay, first question to you. Has any of you watched Sesame Street? 1, 2, someone else. Okay. So you will know the concept of sponsors. In Sesame Street there were sponsors like letter A and number 4. Today we have also such sponsors. There are 3 symbols that will appear along the way during the presentation. And what the presentation will be about. There are some things like setting up installation, building a gallery with Drupal, different things. You won't hear it today. Sorry, it's nothing that I can effectively explain in 30 minutes. So instead, I will tell you how I set up Drupal websites. I will tell you what are the stages that I try to follow, what are some tools that I use, and especially what are some mistakes that I made that maybe you can avoid. So what do the symbols mean? You learn it along the way. Why would you care about such a session? First thing is that it's always better to learn on somebody else's mistakes. Another thing is that sometimes when I hear some concepts, some ideas, I get an alert in my head saying, that might go wrong. So maybe you will get also such alerts. Another thing, you can compare your workflow with mine. Maybe we can learn something from each other. Good. There are other symbols. And that's, to be honest, that's pretty much everything I want to tell you today. What do they mean? Identify, frame, fill, and reduce. These are 4 stages that I try to follow every time I set up a website, no matter if it's Drupal website or any other. Identify. I will tell you a story. Are there some people from Gdańsk, Gdynia, Sopot? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Is there someone from Sweden? Great. So listen up, because this is about your compatriots. I have a friend in Gdańsk who runs his own business. He has a driving school for English speakers. And he told me a story. There was a Swedish girl who wanted to pass the driving license exam. So she came for the first drive. She entered the car. Marcin told me that they chose the narrow streets just to start good. So she entered the car, she started the engines, she started the car. She was going faster, faster, even faster. Then she approached the barrier of 40 kilometers per hour. And they were still riding. But then Marcin realized that there's someone on the back of the car, namely another car, that was very close to the car. And the woman in the car behind was using the horn, was doing some strange gestures, was using the long lights, and the situation was like this. And Marcin, who is normally a very calm person, after a couple of minutes, stopped the car in the middle of the street, opened the door, went behind to the car, opened the door, and started yelling at the woman, saying, what are you doing? Do you want to stress this girl even more? What are you doing? Can't you see the sign with L on my car? And then he realized that there was no sign of L. So the reason I'm telling you this is that it's always good to make sure that you have all proper equipment and that you identify the problem very good. And that you know the tools to deconstruct the problem. So first thing I always ask myself is, what's the problem? The second question is, what's the real problem? Because sometimes it's like this, that people want to set up a website, but they are not really sure what they want to have. They know what they want to achieve, but they have maybe not so wise vision of what's the mean to achieve that. An example, 2 or 3 years ago, I was setting up a website that was supposed to run in 6 languages. There should be 6 different content types. And each of the notes in each of the documents in the website should be translated into 6 languages. I started to set this up, but then I realized, whoa, it's totally messy. I can't really implement it and have a clear vision how the site works. So after the long hours of talk with the person who wanted this website, we just realized that the thing that we want is not each document in 6 languages, each of the 6 content types in 6 languages. Is just 6 sections of the website which serves a content with 1 language. That was a simplification that really made the project much, much easier. So always ask yourself, what are the real problems you're trying to solve? Okay, I think we have to admit it, everybody of us, that people who make websites tend to overestimate things like tags, like categories, like all the statistics and all the features that the software gives us. And it's, in my opinion, quite often it makes the websites very complex and not so understandable for the normal user. If you set yourself some limits, some constraints, sometimes it brings creativity. So what I learned along the way is that sometimes you need to give yourself a border saying, I don't use tags. I use tags in every website that I set up, but in this one, I don't really need it. People don't really need it. So let me present 2 examples of web projects. They are not Drupal related, I must say it right now, but they are great examples of web tools made very, very simple. Do you know Tumblr? Who knows Tumblr? Okay, some people know it. You can say that it's a competitor to WordPress. It's a blogging platform, but the difference between WordPress and Tumblr is very important. In WordPress, you can add as many plugins as you want. You can set up and fine-tune many fine details. And in Tumblr, there are just few options that you can set. And if you add a new post, you just choose if it's a text post, if it's a quote, if it's a chat transcription or something else. The simplicity won many million users in US. Another thing, Basecamp. Someone knows Basecamp? Cool. Before I used to use some software like Jira and Active Collab, but I was always, we weren't in good relations with those pieces of software. So what I learned when started using Basecamp is the very bare minimum of everything you would need in a project. There are no tags, there are no milestones, no priorities, just simple discussions, comments, and notifications. It works very well, for me at least. Okay, so when you're trying to set up a web project, I would try to describe the project, the whole project, with just one sentence. If you cannot describe it with one sentence, there's a good chance that you don't understand the project or that the project is overcomplicated. When you think of this one sentence, think of one specific task that the user may try to accomplish with your website. If you think of Gmail, you think read and write messages. If you think of Gadu-Gadu, you think of instant messaging. Of course, there are lots of features in Gadu-Gadu. There are radios, there's even virtual disk, I guess. But if you take out the radios from Gadu-Gadu, I think not so many people would be angry. If you remove the instant messaging feature, I think no one would use it anymore. Okay, so I try to focus on one important task that the user is trying to accomplish, and it has two advantages. It gives me the clarity, what I need to do, what is my priority, and the second thing, if you focus on just one thing, it's easier to maintain the quality of the project. Okay. The wheel. Should we reinvent it? I guess no. And in many projects that I did this mistake. I tried to rewrite the features that were already coded in some Drupal module or some Drupal themes or in some third-party apps. And I think that's a big mistake. You're wasting your time, and there's a good chance that you won't make it better than the people that did it. Okay, let's go on. In some projects that I did, also using Drupal, we had a long list of texts that were giving us some data that we wanted to present on the website, and we needed to transform this data somehow. So what I did was writing a long script that transformed it, concatenated, cut it, or trimmed the text. But then I learned that using Excel or LibreOffice Calc, the spreadsheets, made this task 5 times faster. It's just one function that you copy to all the cells and you have it. So think of third-party apps that can solve your problem. If you run a Drupal project, you need to look for a ready-made module because there's lots of functionality already coded. There's lots of features that people implemented, and you are free to use it. Maybe there's also a theme that is close to your vision of how the website should look like. So maybe instead of coding the theme from scratch, you can use some ready-made themes. What do you think about it? Who agrees? Who does agree? One person, okay. I'm the second. Actually, it's questionable if it's really Pablo Picasso who said it first, but it doesn't matter. The thing I want to tell you is that it's always useful to see how other people who do the Drupal websites or other websites solved some issue. It doesn't mean that I am dumb and I cannot invent something on my own, but I think it's a good practice to see how other people do this. A couple of months ago, I had a task to introduce Facebook login to our company website, to znanylekarz.pl, and I started to go into the project, see what I can do. Then I realized, okay, we have to add the login feature. Maybe we can also present your friends who are also on the page. How many friends should we present? What do we do if we don't have any friends that are also on the website? Those were the questions that bugged me, and to be honest, I spent like one whole week thinking, and the conclusion was, I don't know how to do this. Then, after I gave myself a break of 1 week, and just started looking at other websites. And I realized that maybe it's just the login that's necessary. And that's the thing I saw on the website of Airbnb.com, and also the form of the login block was really good. So I can say I stole it and adapted to our needs. Okay. I usually do this. If I set up a website, I start by looking how others did it. You can always check how others present comments on the website. You can see how others do the shopping workflow. It's really useful. I don't know if you noticed, but for example, if you do the shopping at Amazon, if you go to the checkout process, there are no links active. Even if you have the Amazon logo on the top, the link is inactive. Do you know why? So that people don't escape from the shopping process. These are fine details that you can sometimes find in many websites. You can also see how bookmarking works, or Facebook integration. That's my case. Okay, there's a good chance that people who did the things that you are observing gave it much thought and took some time to really set it up. So why not use their experience? Okay, you need to always also ask yourself this question: is Drupal right for me? Maybe there's something else you can use to set this website much quicker, much simpler. Maybe that's the case. I tried to answer this question for myself, and I would say that Drupal may be useful if your site contains many types of objects. If it's just a list of articles, forget Drupal. Sorry, but that's my opinion. It's much quicker to do this with some simpler software. But really the power of Drupal is something you can experience in more complex projects. Okay, frame. That's the second stage of my setting up a website. In this part, I already have the whole vision of the website with fine details in my head, and my first goal is to make the process that the person does on the website achievable. So if it's, for example, if it's a web shop, I try just to make the process of buying achievable, so that the person can put something into the shopping cart and check out. There can be some rough edges after this stage, but it's a very good proof of concept if what you are doing is really good. Okay, make the task achievable. One task, do you remember? So it's always good to remind yourself what is the one task that you need to focus on, and what is this #1 priority. Okay, that's the time when I turn my computer on. I'm exaggerating a little bit. I had my computer on, but I tend not to use too much complicated software by this moment. I don't open NetBeans or Eclipse or things like this by now. I just focus on simple software to make some notes, to jot down my ideas, and this. There was a guy who was called Merlin Mann. He's a US, I don't know who he is, some IT guy, let's say, who said that if the software you're using gives you too much fun, you won't focus on your task, just on the software. So that's why I tend to focus just on the content, not on the software itself. On this stage, I also try to remember that good sites are metaphors of real physical things. So, for example, if you think of Allegro, you can imagine it as a shopping cart. If you think of Skype, it's just a phone. If you think of Evernote, it's a notebook. Okay, so our Drupal sites. So if you set up a blog, think of it like about a newspaper. If you set up an e-commerce site, think of it like a shop. Or if you set up another Wikipedia, you can think of encyclopedia. Good, so let's build a website using Drupal. We can make it a directory of mobile apps. So mainly we will recreate the Google Play website. The center of your site is an app. So let's ask ourselves, what is the app? What defines an app? It's for sure the title, there's description, there's the author, there's maybe the list of Android versions that are supported by this app, and some other things. And so these are the things that Drupal calls fields. If you are new to Drupal, it's good to learn this terminology because it's not always very clear, but essential to follow the idea. So maybe there are some other apps. Drupal calls them nodes. So node is a post, is an article or something. Okay, do you group your apps by any criteria? If you do that, this is called, not surprisingly, categories. And if you are even more hardcore and you group these groups, meet taxonomies. Okay, there can be different types of objects in your Drupal website. Say there's an app, there's a developer who is responsible for the website. There may be some review from the app user. These are types of objects that are present in Drupal, and you can set them as content types. For you, this content types may be also some recipes, reviews of films, and things like that. So now let's put all the nodes, fields, and taxonomies together. And we can set a list of the apps on the home site. So for that, we can use the module that is called views. And it's, for me, it's really foundation of almost every project. What views does basically is pull out some objects from your website and present them in a way that you want them to be presented. So if you wanted to list all apps, you can set up a view and just filter all the content by content type app. If you wanted to list just the recommended apps, recommended by you or someone else, then you can add to the process that we ran just a minute ago. You can add to the process another filter. You can filter by taxonomy term recommended. If you want to, for example, list the newest apps to see what's going on, what are some new ideas, to the content type filter app, you can add the filter by content post date, and then choose greater than and minus 1 week. It means that you will see the apps that are not more than 1 week old. And you can also order the objects that you list by date. Maybe descending will be the best idea. You can also, in the views, choose, make view just show not the whole app, all the information that we have about it, but some specific fields. So maybe on this list you can only present the name of the app and, for example, a post date or the author of the app. You can also set up these filters as something that user clicks. So you have a list of all apps that you have, and there's a drop-down menu where user chooses the category that he or she wants to see, clicks, and the list gets filtered. Okay. I haven't used other modules by now. Really, at this stage, I try to focus on views, and that's pretty much everything I use. So what I do now, I try to change the side of the table and play as a user. So I go to my website and try to accomplish the one task that is the most important one. For sure, there are some rough parts. Maybe it's you will need to type the ID of some user or some ID into the field instead of just choosing it. But for me, that's fine, because this part is for me the proof of concept that the thing that I'm doing is really good and that is smart. I don't use any other modules by now, because that makes the process much, much shorter. And if I realize at this moment that, whoa, I did something wrong and the site has no sense, I can still turn back and reinvent it. So that's quick and dirty check if you are going the right direction. Okay, the third stage, there are just 4, so we're getting closer to the end. The third stage is something I called fill. So what I'm trying to do here is to fill in the gaps with all the features that we are missing right now. So some goodness of smooth login process, some images, some constraint checks, things like this. I tried use this moment to the stage to make the most important parts of the website bigger or more prominent. I add some comment systems, images, maps, like this. But even though I add more features to that, I try to focus on user and put the user to the center of the process and ask myself if I should add something else or not. I must confess something. When I was setting my first Drupal personal website, that was some 7 years ago, I guess, I didn't resist one temptation. There was temptation to put a block of recently registered users. I think that's totally pointless. Who would register on my personal website? There's no point in that. And that's one thing. Another thing is, even if someone registered, what is the point of showing that to other people? Does it bring some valuable information? I think no. And that was the point where I focus on myself, not on the user. I think that was a mistake. So if we are coming back to the example of app directory, I would ask myself at this moment, do I need to rate the apps? Do I need to let people say that this app is useful or not useful? If I should rate it, if the people should rate it, should they rate by just saying good, not good, or should they give the 5 stars rating? If they give the 5 stars rating, should I set up a ranking list for them? Maybe it's useful. If there are people who rate the apps, maybe I should set up a blog saying who is the person that rated the biggest number of apps. Maybe that's not useful. Okay, so I try to ask myself what the user would really need apart from that we already have. And everything else I would omit. Good, so that's also the time when you can set up your theme. There are 3 themes, in my opinion, that are good base for projects. My personal favorite is Zen. There's a bare bones. It's just black text, white background, blue links, nothing more. But it has a very good structure, in my opinion, and serves as a good foundation. There's a theme that has more features, and it's called Omega. I know there are big fans of this theme here. Maybe you will hear it also today or tomorrow about this theme. Bartik is the standard theme. You can also start with this one. Another option, you can start from scratch and build your own theme. But as we learned before, great artists steal, so I would steal one of these ready-made themes and adapt it to my needs. Okay, that's the point where I try to make the most out of views. With views, you can really set up great lists. So if you can tell in your head some logical criteria according to which you want to list the apps. So if you want the most popular apps or the apps that are most commented, views is the right solution to go with. If, on the other hand, you want to just select 5 apps that are just fine for you, you can use the module that is called Node Queue, and it just serves this this aim. So you just select some nodes and you can present them with the help of Node Queue. Good. There are some things in Drupal that help you set up proper navigation and prettify the URLs. So for me, the building menus is a very important part of that because, in my opinion, it's something that really affects the way that users use the website. If there are too many points in the menu, it's really difficult to scan and difficult to choose from these points. Okay, so there are modules that can help you, but can also harm you. There's a model called Suckerfish. It's a JavaScript library that helps you set up these drop-down menus with many levels. I used it it was for 3 or 4 years. I used it in one of the websites that we are correcting, because we had a website in my company and the biggest link in the top was terms and conditions. All the categories that users were really looking for were hidden below. And the biggest link was terms and conditions. So we wanted to basically reinvent the navigation for the website, and we used Suckerfish for a big wide menu of categories that users really look for, and it really worked fine. It was pretty, it was useful, but just the day before we wanted to launch the website, I realized that whoa, this is really nice, but it won't work at all at mobile devices, because all the functionality of this module is based on hover. So if you have a mouse, if you have a trackpad, it's okay. But if you're just using your thumb, you won't get far with that. So beware of some fine details that may harm your website. And you can also prettify URLs with Path Auto and set up some rules how the URLs of specific nodes should be built. You can automate some tasks with rules or image cache. If you need to, if you upload an image and want to have it in different dimensions, in different aspect ratios, it's the right module to go. Image cache is in Drupal core since Drupal 7, I guess, so you won't need to search for it very far. Okay, you can add some audio and video with the help of these 2 modules. If you need some communication features, you can set up newsletters with simple news module. That's quite useful. Some people also use private MSG module. These are private messages. If you need it, take it. Some location features. take it if you want. You can also integrate some third-party apps. There's a really big module for Facebook integration, and another one that will add the possibility to share your content to some social networks. It's called Add This. You can also use Google Analytics to set up the tracking code, to set up some custom variables that you can track them in Google Analytics. Okay, that's also the point at this stage. When I said to some of the clients for which I made the website, I said, no, sorry, I can't do this. It's not the way Drupal does it. And to be honest, now I have two problems with that. I think this sentence might tell you that you are not skilled enough to did such a solution. After I said this, no, sorry, I can do this with Drupal, I learned that it's really possible. It takes some time, but it's possible. And another thing that should get you alerted when you say such a sentence is that you're putting the tool in the center, not the user. So the most important thing here would be what Drupal does and not what the user should accomplish on your website. So don't let Drupal take over the project. You are the big boss. Okay, the last stage that I run on all my projects is the reduction process. I ask myself about all the features that I have. Do I really need it? Or maybe I can remove it. If I remove it, would there be many people who would cry after that? Is it essential? If I'm unsure, I try to measure it somehow. So if you have your Google Analytics set up, you can check how many people really go to some parts of your website. Maybe it's just 1% and you can remove it. Okay, less elements means more clarity. So here I would like to recommend this strategy. Cut it in the half, remove, and cut it once more so that you have only half of the half. And another thing, do you know the company 37 Signals? They are the authors of Basecamp. And they wrote a brilliant book that's called Rework. And there's one fun fact about this book. They admitted in the book that at first the length of this book was, I guess, 50,000 words, but then the author reread it and reduced it to 19,000 words. So it's more than a half less, and it's really one of the most concise books that I ever read. So I think it's a good strategy. You can always reduce load times. There are some front-end things that you can take care of. You can minify and combine JavaScript and CSS. There are modules for that. You can also do it yourself if you want. You can create CSS sprites to combine all the images that you use into one big image. That is also helpful. And you can take care of cache. There are two modules that are particularly useful. Boost, it's for everybody. Memcache needs some server support, but it also brings big improvements. Okay, cut. Now I will tell you a couple of sentences that I hear sometimes, and they always ring a bell that something is going wrong. We'll use the module next month, so we'll keep it on the website right now. I think it's a bad strategy. If you don't use a module, you should remove it so that it doesn't eat your server resources and so it doesn't distract you. Cut it. Our CEO loves the who is logged in block. Okay, but what's the reason of this who is logged in blocked? Does it bring any valuable information? I guess no. You can cut it. You can let people add their Facebook profile link on the website, but sometimes there's someone who comes to you and tells, and there are some users that have 2 profiles on Facebook. What about them? These are some edge cases. I think we can forget them. They will love the guest book for sure. Who of you have a guest book on your website? Who did have 10 years ago or 20? Okay, but this is also the question that brings another problem that I come across sometimes. If you communicate with someone in the project and the person is pretty convinced that yes, we really need a guest book, this is an important feature, what you can do then? The thing that I did it wrong a couple of times, but then I learned the best strategy for that is to support yourself with some independent data or research. Find a report that says that the number of users using guest books decreased since 1990 by 80%, so maybe there's no need to use it. If it doesn't convince your colleague, your manager or someone, you can always set up a very simple user test. Take someone who doesn't know your project, put the person in front of the computer and tell them to just navigate the website and watch the most interesting parts. You'll see if the person clicks the guest book or no. Okay, there are some other features that you probably can not need, like private messages. So at the end of the project, I always ask myself once more, maybe there is something more I can cut to make people happy and help them accomplish this one important task that the whole site is all about. So one important task, user in the center, cut as much as you want from your Drupal installation, and remember the process. If you want to learn more, you will for sure come to Drupal documentation on the drupal.org website, but there are some other resources that I can recommend you. One is the book of Krzysiek Palikowski, who is maybe here or no. That's very useful. This is in Polish, so for all the Swedish guys it's not so useful. There's a Twitter account called Drupal Modules that posts links to interesting Drupal modules. They do it on regular basis, so every day you can get a link to some useful resources. There are Drupal answers on Stack Exchange, and there's a very good in-depth book about module development called Drupal 7 Development. I will upload this presentation somehow so that you can click the link and retrieve the URLs. One final message. You are not alone. There are other guys who set up Drupal websites. You can follow in their paths. Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much.